Today I'm going to tell a story. And I really need for you guys to pay attention. Everyone, I need for you to pay attention. Because this is serious. So, this story that I'm going to speak about happened a few days ago. And things could have gone very differently if it wasn't for the person involved. But first, I want to draw a correlation between woman and man. We know that oftentimes in the society that we live in today, a woman will pick a fight with a man and then rush up into that man's face without any concerns or care or fear that anything could happen to her. Something could happen to her. But she knows that the law is on her side. So she will carelessly pick a fight with a 6'5" man, and she's 5'5", and dare the man to do something to her. Why? Because she knows that when the law comes, they're not going to ask much questions from the man. They're not going to be too concerned with what he has to say. It's believe all women. But on the other hand now, when it comes to two men, the law is not that favorable. Oftentimes, when you walk in a room, men walk in a room, there's always a threat of violence, a low barometer. Because you can gauge the atmosphere as a man. You look around the room and you see women and men in the room. Let's say you go to a bar, right? And guys are shooting pool, bowling, or something, having fun. And when a man walks in the room, he gauges the atmosphere. He determines if it's a high barometer or a low barometer. And he moves accordingly. Some cases, stealth-like. And in this world now that we live, we know that there are a lot of men, young men, that grew up with single mothers. And when they grow up with single mothers, no father around, or if the father is around, the mother will do her best to corrupt the young man's mind against the father, even if the father tries to be in the boy's life. And because of such a tumultuous relationship, and naturally a young man wants to protect his mother. He's going to side with her, whether she's a nefarious type of mother or whether she's the most kindest, sweetest human being in the world. And he's going to take on her emotions. So the story I'm going to tell you is of a young man that pushed violence towards me in a very unfamiliar way to me, unexpected. And I had to make a decision of what to do, how to handle it. As a mature man, things could have gone very wrong. There is a song. The song is done by Kenny Rogers. And in this song, it says, you have to know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Because when you're sitting at the table, you better know that it's not time to count that money. Now, I hope you understand what I just said. Right? I hope you understand why I use that song. Know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. So here's what happened. I was walking down the strip a few days ago, and I heard somebody, a male's voice, said, "Slow down to the..." And I'm like, he's not talking to me because I don't respond to that type of language. And I heard the voice again said, "You hear me talking to you, nigga?" I was like, wow, what's going on behind me? And I continually walked, kept on walking in the direction I was going because I was heading towards the elevator. And there's a corridor with a massive gate that I have to pull open to enter the area to summon the elevator. So in doing so, just before I reached to that gate, that corridor, I turned and looked slightly behind me. And I noticed that there was a little girl walking hastily behind me, as if she was walking away from him. But it appeared that this little girl is with this young man that's walking in my direction. So I looked with this concerned look on my face, like, wow. So I continue on opening the gate. So he said, "What the fuck you looking at?" And I got astonished because I'm like, I did not say anything to this man, right? But I realized how emotional he is. And I just stared at him and I just started laughing because that was my defense mechanism to what was really going on in my head. Because at that point, when he said that to me, I immediately looked down on my waist. I had a bunch of keys on my waist, and I looked at the most pointed one, the longest one. And the thoughts that went through my head was, if it needs to go down today, it's going to go down. And it's not going to be pretty for him, because I was going to remove the hitch that held the bunch of keys on my belt, and I was going to go to town on him, because I'm thinking to myself, the only two things that could happen here, is I could die or he could die, right? Or I could be seriously injured or he could be seriously injured. Because what was going on in my head, I'm not scared of dying. So what could come of this situation? But as a mature person, I thought, if I made that move, this little girl would be traumatized for the rest of her life because of something that this young man said to me, and I act irrational or emotional and reacted in a violent way that could have been detrimental to every one of us, each of us, because I don't know, he might have been holding something, right? He might have been harmed or have a piece on him, a blade or something on him. I don't know. And I thought that if I had just reacted other than laughing, it would have gone very, very wrong in a split second. And that little girl would have been bawling her eyes out in fear, in terror, because of the actions I could have stopped. So I made the determination, the decision to continue on. I closed the gate and I said to myself, I could have done something to this boy, to this young man. And because I don't have the fear of dying, I would have just emotionally reacted and caused some serious harm to this little girl. So when I use the reference, you have to know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Because it was not that time to face an opponent that I don't know or didn't know that could possibly hurt me, or he didn't know that I could possibly hurt him. But I knew what my intentions were at that particular moment. And if it wasn't for that little girl, I probably would have acted or reacted if he came at me in any way. And if he had come at me, other than asking me what the fuck I'm looking at, right? And then when I started laughing, he said, yeah, I'm talking to you, nigga. What the fuck you looking at? I braced myself. People, friends, relatives, family, everyone out there, take heed to what I'm saying. Because at times we make very, very irrational decisions. And this decision could make or break our futures, make or break anything that you had planned. It could destroy your future prospects. You have to take stock of what could possibly happen when someone disrespects you in a manner. There's a saying, and I've heard it since I was a child. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Words can never harm me. Well, we all know that words can be harmful, emotionally, psychologically harmful, but physically harmful. Words are not physically harmful in that sense, right? If a police officer were to come and two people are arguing, the police officer may or may not arrest both individuals for disturbing the peace, not domestic violence. But if one person put their hand on another person, that's violence, right? And when you approach someone, right, that is, you're approaching them to do violence. So that's assault when you approach them. And when you put your hands on them, that's battery. So what will happen is that the individual that was the aggressor will now be charged with assault and battery. Remember, assault is the action of moving towards them, not yet touching them. The minute you put your hands on them, then that is battery, assault and battery. So there are so many different scenarios and conclusions that could have happened if I had made an emotional decision to think based on his action that he was going to do something to me other than just what he said to me. Because for some people, just words alone will make them react because they are looking at it as disrespectful. And sticks and stone may hurt my bones, but words cannot hurt me, cannot physically hurt me. Right? And I made a decision to hold on to my emotions, pull my temperament back, walk away, and run to that elevator so I could leave that situation and be rid of it. So, guys, ladies, gents, man, woman, boys, girls, listen to me well. Temper your emotions when someone says something to you. If they didn't physically touch you, walk away. Run if you have to. Because that decision of walking away or running could save your life or the life of others. So on that note, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for paying attention. And remember, like I always like to say in closing, question everything, because if you don't, you may fall for anything. Think and say, have a good day.